It's time to get nerdy, y'all.
A little bit of gaming history for you.
Something relevant in gaming and discuss our opinions on it.
Should we kick it out of here, or should we kick-start it?
This is the part where you, the listeners, try to stump the hosts.
I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on a podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, lads and lasses of all ages, welcome to the show. It is Monday, June 15th, 2026, and it is time to get nerdy. Welcome to episode 381 of Two Nerds in a Pod, the nerdiest gaming podcast in the multiverse. I am Mac, and I am joined by my friend in gaming commentary. He is as clever as he is devastatingly good-looking, Mr. Lam Galuka, also known as Mr. Nice Guy 425. And for the next hour, we're going to cover topics ranging from news, history, trivia, lawsuits, and everything in between as they relate to our favorite art form, that is Vidya-gaming. But first, Mr. Nice Guy, it's been a couple of weeks since we've been able to record. How you doing, man?
Dude, it's good. One of my, actually several of my kids had graduation ceremonies, different grade levels. So that's why I couldn't do it last week. One of my kids was doing a graduation thing, and we hung out afterwards. Family first.
Yeah.
So life is good, man. It's warm here in the Midwest. So, working on my golf game. Outside of, hanging out at a gaming convention or doing something nerdy with friends, I don't know if there's a better hangout than a nice game of golf.
Really?
In good company.
So I've never golfed before, Nice Guy, but it's nice. It's like a good hang. I have Frisbee golfed, and that's kind of, I think there's kind of similar vibes.
So imagine Frisbee golf, but you have a cart, and it's just a beautiful day, and good conversation, and birds are chirping, and there's a little bit of friendly competition going around, and there's other cool people with their groups out there. It'd be like if, I guess probably the closest analogy I could make is if D&D was done in a public space with your foursome and a bunch of other D&D foursomes who you kind of got to interact with occasionally, and you knew that you had similar interests, and it's just a good vibe. Golf is just a good vibe.
Cool. Well, I'm glad that you enjoy it, my dude, and maybe sometime we'll have to try golfing. They actually have some golf courses out this direction that people like, I guess. I don't know. There are some notable golf courses, I suppose. Anyway, point being is that bring your clubs next time you come out.
Dude, I will. Next time I'm out there, we'll, even if we don't go to a course, I'm sure there's probably plenty of open space where you are at. And Walmart actually sells, used balls.
For 5 seconds, I thought you were going to say we should use the Walmart parking lot as a driving range.
That's not a bad idea, but that's not what I was going to say. They sell used balls, so when you're learning how to golf, you're going to lose a lot. You can just buy a bag of crappy balls. And so we could purposefully buy a bag or two and just go hit them in the woods. That'd be fun.
I know with my luck, they would definitely come back and hit me. I didn't do anything exciting like you, did not recognize anybody's achievements, just sort of had a relaxing week while we were off. And yeah, looking forward to this week because I don't know how it is in other states or other localities, but here I've got Juneteenth off, so I've got myself a 3-day weekend.
Dude, I've got Juneteenth off as well.
Nice.
And it's funny because I actually want to golf on Juneteenth. And so I've hit up a few people and been like, hey, you guys want to golf? And they're like, I got work. So not every company recognizes it yet. We will get there.
Yeah.
But I got to find someone who's off, who's not in Oregon, that wants to hang on Juneteenth. So hit me up, local friends, if you listen to this. Mac, on that note, I say we do what we do best and hop right up in this gaming news, man. What do you think about that?
Absolutely, dude. I'm so out of the loop. What is new in Vidya-gaming?
So much. And thank you for tuning in to episode 381 of Two Nerds in a Pod, nerdiest video game podcast in the galaxy. Mac, so much to talk about. Stuff I'm excited to talk about. Here's one on Gizmodo.com written by Kyle Barr. Here is what Kyle writes. Xbox CEO Asha Sharma is standing up on her soapbox, telling gamers what they don't want to hear. Gaming hardware is getting too expensive. Because of spiking memory prices, players may not be able to afford that shiny new console on the horizon. So Xbox has to do something drastic, and that may require rejuvenating Xbox cloud gaming with, you guessed it, ads. The entire Xbox business is heading towards a reset, according to an open memo sent to the Xbox employees co-written by Sharma and head of Xbox's publishing arm, Matt Booty. The situation is dire. Microsoft's gaming execs told staff that console storage components were already 2 times more expensive than they were last fall. Leadership expects memory prices to soar to 5x what the company had previously paid a year ago. That's going to pose a problem for Xbox's Project Helix next-gen console. Mac, as of right now, someone who wants to buy an Xbox Series X is paying $650. $650. And they cannot make enough to keep up with demand. Number one, what do you think about ads while you are playing a streaming game? And then I have a really interesting second question for you.
The first question is not going to take that much time. I am again it. Don't care much for ads. I haven't cared for them on mobile platforms as we were playing mobile games. Don't care much for them. And this is, although I will say, in the mobile sphere, we tended to have a rather reasonable middle ground thing. A lot of mobile games, especially in the early 2010s, would have a free version of the game that had advertisements, or you could pay for the game.
Right.
And then the advertisements were gone. And that, I felt like, was a good sort of middle ground for that. I don't know if this Xbox head has said anything about whether this is going to be across paid or not paid experiences, but I am generally again it, especially if it's on games that you already paid money for.
Well, and I asked the question, but I immediately wanted to rephrase it.
Oh, please.
What do you think about ads in terms of watch these ads and it decreases the price that you're paying for streaming? Like, for example, Disney Plus, Netflix, they have ad-free versions that are cheaper, or ad-free versions that are more expensive, and then they have versions with ads where you have to pay where you get to pay less.
Honestly, I think that those types of arrangements are the digital shrinkflation, offering you a worse deal but pretending like it's a better one, because it's like, oh, look, see, now this 1.25 liter of soda is $1.50 and the 2 liter is $3.50, that sort of stuff. I think it is a tactic that effectively bamboozles the customer into thinking they're getting a better deal.
Yeah.
When I think it's just an excuse to squeeze a customer for more.
I see, and I'm okay with it because I think it's already been attributed directly to rising prices, right? So if we can get streaming stuff at a cheaper price and have to watch ads, I am almost okay with it. My main concern is the timing of the ads, because games to me truly are art and they're an immersive experience. The idea of me watching or playing a game and then I'm at a loading screen and they decide to extend the length of that loading screen by adding ads would drive me nuts.
Well, that's
now,
okay, Lom. They'll use the AI to figure out where to load the ads in. Maybe they just put it up on the pause screen, so every time you try to organize your inventory, bam.
Yeah, there's Ryan Reynolds talking about his new cell phone company or whatever.
Okay, hang on. I'm sorry, you brought it up. We have to. Ryan Reynolds sold that to Verizon. You no longer get to claim that Mint Mobile is a little guy. You are directly a wholly owned subsidiary now of Verizon. You're no longer the little guy. Also, commercials featuring Ryan Reynolds anymore? No, he doesn't run the company. He doesn't have anything to do with the company anymore. It's all Verizon. It's shenanigans. Just say Mint Mobile.
I was completely unaware of this, but we digress. Mac, the real question I have for you,
Yes.
the bigger question is
question.
And rather than phrasing it as a question, here's my stance on this. I think that these rising hardware prices are a good thing for Xbox, and I actually think that it gives them the opportunity to catch up to get more of the market share that may have gone to Sony in the past. Hardware is an area where Sony has the major advantage. I believe that they have a better product. It's a better controller. I just believe that it's better, even though it may not be more powerful. I think that their console is a better place to play than the Xbox. If we move to a future where things are done based on streaming, I wholeheartedly believe that Xbox Game Pass and Xbox streaming is just a better experience objectively than what Sony is offering. So if hardware truly becomes a luxury, I believe that Xbox is going to catch up to Sony because more people will subscribe and they will be able to get more market share of of what people are spending as that part of their hobby.
Counterpoint, is not the inclusion of ads going forward going to sandbag Xbox so that Sony can catch up in this imbalance?
Well, I would assume that if Xbox is doing it, Sony is doing it too, the ads. So, I mean, if only one company is doing it, then sure, that's definitely going to hurt them. But I think that Xbox already has the infrastructure and already has the platform from a digital perspective to win. And not to say that Sony doesn't have streaming as part of, PlayStation Plus Premium and Extra and all that. But I just think that Xbox's is much more well-known. And I think that if we go away from hardware, that they have a chance to win that next generation.
You could very well be right about that.
We will see.
Nice guy. I do have a quick correction. Galvatron
Please.
mentions it was sold, Mint Mobile was sold to T-Mobile, not to Verizon. And I think he's right. So my bad. Still, objection still stands.
Mac's objection still stands. Thank you for that, G. Well, let's keep things moving. Mac, I don't really talk about drama on the pod. We used to have this thing called Dummy of the Week we did.
Oh, yeah.
But this one, it relates to gaming and it relates to Pokemon directly. So I wanted to share this for those who may not know, because I have some strong opinions here. Kotaku.com, written by Kenneth Shepard. Here's what Kenneth writes. Jason Page was accused of ripping off kids for a Gengar at a card show. Jason Page, the vocalist millions of Pokemon fans know for his performance of the original anime's theme song, has responded to a viral controversy after he was accused of ripping off young fans in a Pokemon card trade, claiming the exchange was, quote, absolutely fair. I don't know if I want to read this whole article, but it says the saga began when Pokemon card vendor and content creator Brian Kunitz, also known as Boosters and Bangers Collectibles, accused Page of scamming kids at the Orlando-based Collecticon event. While some of the videos of the saga have been deleted, the gist of what Kunitz claims took place is that Page made an underhanded trade with a child at the show, which included trading an old Gengar card for a quote-unquote fake, albeit autographed and inscribed card. The specific grievance is that Gengar card would have been valued more highly than the autographed card. Mac, are you already familiar with this story before I'm sharing it with you just now?
No, I am so far out of the loop on tradable card game stuffs. But, I understand the notion of trying to scam a child. It's as tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Candy, baby, yeah.
It is. So here's my summary, right?
Yeah.
Jason Page, the dude who sang the Pokemon theme song, gets no royalties for singing that theme song. And so he's always out singing the theme song at conventions, signing Pokemon cards, right? Under the premise that his signature will make them more valuable. Does this to this kid, trades him for like a $150 Gengar card. Now there's some controversy. Mac, with what you have heard of this story, is this Billy Mitchell part 2? Or is this more a guy who had a bad deal, trying to take advantage of what little fame he has left?
Is a kid, man. You can't do that to the kids. You can't do that to the children. Children don't know what things are worth. And if you, as an adult who maybe they implicitly trust because you're at the con singing the song that you did, I'm sorry you don't get any royalties for it, but you are, like it or not, in a position of trust. It's like, dude, number one, be cool. And number two, please, won't someone think of the children? This is the type of please think of the children moment that we need to focus on. The things where we're like, hey, don't be a jerk to the kids. Don't try and scam the children. Don't accept, don't let children use their parents' credit cards to rack up huge bills on Fortnite. I'm saying there is a whole lot of ways in which children are prey to adults who build things or structure things to sucker them in and to deprive them of things. And dude, he has to be better. So Billy Mitchell 2.0, no, that's giving this guy way too much credit. But also, it is really, really sad because, yeah, he should know better. He should do better. Be better.
Yeah, I mostly agree. I have no disagreement with the thing with kids.
Yeah, you better not disagree with protecting the children. Everyone's
do not
coming
steal
for
from
you.
kids. Do not steal from kids. I will go a step further and say don't trade with kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's some hobbies that are multi-generational, and this is one of them. There, Pokemon cards started back when we were kids, right? And there's some people who still collect that are my age. I'm not into Pokemon cards anymore, but that's totally cool for those who are. And I think that Pokemon, because it's been around for so long, has such a broad audience that it is not weird that someone who is, I think he's 50-something years old, would be engaged in a hobby that also a 12 or 13-year-old might be engaged in.
Agreed.
That said, I feel like within a hobby, you should be associating with and trading with people who are of the same age as you. Now, if a kid initiates a trade and maybe their parent is there, great. But at some point, the consideration that this person is a minor should always come into play when it comes into making business deals or any type of contract, official or unofficial. So that's where I think he went wrong. Even if the kid was cool with it, even if there was some lopsided value, the idea of a contract between a minor and an adult, to me, is where the problem is.
Yeah. I would like to reference us to the case of Finders v. Keepers. And I think that's pretty dispositive as to what we're dealing with here. But I think, really, if we're talking an adult making a trade with a kid, then there are, in fact, take-backsies. Just categorically. You make a deal with a kid, they want take-backsies, you have to honor it, because that's what being an adult is.
Also, as a person who, I'm talking about him, says he has some fame, I don't know that you get to say how much your signature boosts.
Oh, yeah.
I think the market decides that.
What, you mean, nice guy? I can't say I'm cool. People have to tell me I'm cool?
Right, exactly. And just because you're singing a song and people are listening doesn't mean that your signature increases the value of something. So that's my issue. Mac, I don't know, man. There's other news stories today, but I kind of feel like those are the main two I wanted to hit. We do know what else is going on. We know that Xbox studio heads are leaving ahead of major layoffs that may come to Xbox. We also know that Blizzard sued a World of Warcraft private server. But we don't really need to dive into those, Mac. That has been our news for the week.
Well, we turn now toward the past for a little bit of video game history. And nice guy, June is a really interesting month. Really interesting month. We have some cool games, like for the OG Xbox, we got Morrowind back in 2002. Super cool. Also, for those people who liked the games on the Nintendo, but didn't really want to keep lugging that around, in 2004, Nintendo put out their NES Classic series. Now, distinct from the NES Classic console.
In what year?
In 2004, and I know you're thinking, not the mini console, the NES Classic, but in 2004, the NES Classic series for the Game Boy Advance, which were re-releases of a bunch of those old original titles.
Yep.
And so that's, obviously some cool things. But, nice guy, I think perhaps one of the most intriguing and interesting things comes out of 1978. So let's go back to a different era, all right? Most people did not have consoles or even computers in their homes. To play video games meant specialized hardware. Things that were usually built to play one game and one game only. You get plenty of those different games in a room together. You have them, say, coin operated, so you can recoup some of the costs. We call that an arcade, people. It really existed. I know they're a little bit rarer these days. But this older style of doing things meant that you, as a game company, you weren't really pitching to the consumer. I mean, sure, there was some of that, right? Because, a customer has to want to put a quarter in and try your game. But long before you ever get your video game in front of an individual, you have to appeal to the buyers, the people who have to shell out thousands of dollars to buy an arcade cabinet and then take it and plant it in their business, sacrifice that floor space, and convince them that that'll be, worthwhile. Businessmen who owned the arcades, they're the target demographic. So in that context, right, it's early June 1978, And there is a whole bunch of business people that are gathered in Taito's warehouse, Taito, the game manufacturer, to see and try out the new games that are being produced. And the staff there have an arcade cabinet that they are excited about. It's front and center. They're trying to get all of these business people on board to buying some and taking them to the arcades. It's a game that we would know and love, resounding through the ages. Probably the first arcade game you can think of from Taito, Mr. Nice Guy.
I don't know, Mac. You put me on the spot.
Blue Shark, Mr. Nice Guy, of course.
Not what I would have guessed at all.
Blue Shark, and they're pushing that so hard. It's the whole reason for the event. But there's one little thing. They are a little bit worried that the showroom floor is going to look empty. And so they tell a bunch of the other people, hey, hurry up. I know you're working on this other game. Just get it done. Throw just whatever kind of sound you can throw into it. You know, we need you there to kind of pad the runtime of the event. And so obviously Blue Shark front and center, and off in a little corner, a title nobody's heard of, unlike the famous Blue Shark, Space Invaders. Just a little afterthought in the corner so that, you know, people have something else they can try out while they're waiting for the main event, Blue Shark. But it was, and as a matter of fact, so slapdash is Space Invaders that they've got some of the sounds used in that are just full-on ported over, snatched from Blue Shark, because they had the same music dude, the same sound guy working for Blue Shark, also doing Space Invaders as well. Slaps that together, they get it out there, and so while people are getting a little bit, you know, waiting for Blue Shark, they're trying out Space Invaders. Not surprisingly, as we know, because we're on this side of 1978, we know that Blue Shark has had basically zero impact in video gaming, in gaming history, but yet Space Invaders has had so very much. But it was now that they were trying to convince people to come on board, buy copies of Blue Shark, and what everybody wanted walking away from that was Space Invaders, the absolute afterthought, and yet one of the chief, principal, most exciting games of the 1970s. Nice Guy, I don't have that much experience with Space Invaders, aside from having to play it once or twice in any number of, you know, sort of reproductions. I don't suppose you ever tried a machine out in the arcade yourself.
I absolutely have, dude. So I've been to a lot of arcades. I'm pretty sure I tried it at Galloping Ghost, and then there's also one here not far from my house. The Nickelcade, I believe is what it's called. Nope, it's not called the Nickelcade. Wow, I forgot the name. But it's a really good arcade here locally, and I have played Space Invaders.
Nice. Me, mostly just in those other contexts. Well, Nice Guy, I have one other interesting thing to throw out there from 2004. I'm going to name off a whole bunch of games. They all came from the same company. Another World, Baldur's Gate, Battle Chess, Clay Fighter, Descent, Earthworm Jim, Fallout, Mario Teaches Typing, Planescape Torment, and the Star Trek point-and-click adventure games. All these games, published by Interplay, is the name of the crew. And at least one of those titles, I'm sure, I hope, means something to you.
Oh, several of them, man. I have many, many, many great memories of Clay Fighter 63 and a third for the Nintendo 64. Fantastic game.
Earthworm Jim for the SNES, yeah?
Earthworm Jim, Another World, lots of great games listed there.
Yeah, they had a fantastic portfolio, but no matter how fantastic the portfolio is, it can't protect you from irresponsible C-suite executives, sadly. And that is what Interplay fell on, some hard times in the early 2000s. It got so bad that their California offices were reported for having not paid their employees. So bad that bills were coming due, employees weren't being paid, taxes weren't being paid, and believe it or not, the state of California, I believe it was today in 2004, shut the place down They went up, they locked the doors, posted that the business was closed for violations of law, and it would be several months before they could get themselves out of that jam. But, like, you know, I know we're thinking a little bit about the various layoffs that are coming in aspects, or have already happened and will continue to happen. But I think this may have been one of the very few examples of a state government shutting down a game company. But that is some history for you.
Thank you. By the way, arcade near my house is called, not near my house, but near where I live, the Garcade.
The
And y'all should
Garcade,
check it
that's
out.
right.
Did we go there? I don't think we went there while you were here. We did other
No,
things.
we didn't go there. We did other things when we were still in Chicagoland. We went to Galloping Ghosts, which was great.
That's right. That was a great one. Yeah, one of the best arcades in the country. Well, Mac, let's keep things moving with our topic of the week.
Woo-woo.
A segment where we discuss something relevant in gaming and give our opinions on it. And Mac, no news story tied to this, but sometimes the algorithm wins. And lately the algorithm has been showing me a lot of videos on the same theme. Now, if you listen to Two Nerds in a Pod, you know that we are fans of physical games for the purpose of game preservation and game history. But Mac, I've come across an argument lately that digital gaming and our digital libraries is a bad thing for the industry because it results in analysis paralysis. And being a kid in a candy store where you have an unlimited backlog, where you have access to so many streaming games, and even where you have handheld devices where you can pop in an SD card and have the whole NES, Game Boy, Sega, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 library at your fingertips, is taking away some people's love of gaming. Having access to too much as opposed to flipping in a cartridge or a CD every time you want to switch games. I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think that digital access is a detriment to enjoyment? Not in terms of preservation, in terms of enjoyment.
Nice guy, you know me. I am always very careful to hedge bets, to say, I don't know, reasonable people can disagree. I will, however, full-on hot take this and say categorically no. While I understand what someone might be saying, oh no, I've got too many choices, too many amazing games to play, what am I ever gonna do? That is not a real barrier to enjoyment. And analysis paralysis, I mean, make yourself a checklist is the only advice I can give to you. But I would never consider my access to having too many good games to give a go to as a barrier that's standing in my way of enjoying games. Who is it that's filling your impressionable head with these lies, Lam?
Well, it's a lot of people, dude. And if
Really?
you go on YouTube, if you go on YouTube later, and a lot of it, just to be clear, is being said in relation to like retro gaming can be a solution to doom scrolling. Is the argument, right? Like the ability to hold a physical Game Boy, switch the cartridge, and have one game that you can play at a time can be the thing that stops you from scrolling on your phone because it causes you to focus on one thing and it brings back the memories as opposed to having a phone that can make phone calls and can take pictures and can surf the internet and has social media, right? And so then people have likened that unto if you have an Analog Pocket or a Steam Deck or a AYN Thor, and you have modern and you have retro and you have YouTube, you know, that I agree, man. I feel like sometimes we just have too much. You get on overload a little bit, and someone made the argument that then you just go back to the same 2 or 3 games that you're comfortable with, and you never actually end up playing new stuff.
I can see how some people struggle, and to be fair, there is an awful lot about the way that digital life is structured that is built in such a way as to try and capture your attention for the longest period of time.
100%.
Gosh, I've got so many disparate thoughts here that aren't really coalescing.
Share them. No, share them.
No. I mean, well, like, on the one hand, it's things like, I say no twice. Okay, fine. If you must, I'll share
If you say so.
If you say so, Lob, since you give me the go-ahead. In the construction of various things like YouTube, Facebook, other things like that, they had people who consulted specifically for how can we keep people engaged longer on our platform? What can we do to make sure that people come here and stay here and don't go to other websites? So, like, there is a large amount of this that people are talking about this attention issue.
Yes.
That is, I wouldn't say the problem isn't rooted in the fact that you have so many games. I think the problem is rooted in that we've spent the last 10 years, 15 years constructing a digital society that is determined to ensnare you and keep you scrolling at basically any cost. Algorithms and so on and so forth. Even this show, subtly, Mac has been raising and lowering his tempo and tone to keep you engaged this whole time into the middle of the podcast. But no, really, I think that I don't think the problem is with gaming and digital gaming. I think if there is a problem, and I do think there is a problem, I think it is a function of the digital fortresses that we've built. And while my heart goes out to anybody who is struggling to put their device down, heaven knows I struggle to put that device down and focus on what's going on. But at the end of the day, I think that is the perfect reason why video games will save you. Leap into the old retro video games. Focus on those.
There it is.
And if the way that you can do that is through an old cartridge or an old cartridge-based game, more power to you. I can see how that would help some people. But I still maintain to my earlier that I don't think the problem is, we are lacking enjoyment because we've got so many games as options. I think if we're struggling with attention, it's a function of the entire digital framework that people have built around the digital sphere.
That is a fair point. So I believe, and this is just off memory, off the top of the dome, I believe Phil Spencer, when someone was trying to make the argument, we're going to read your comment, G. Someone was trying to make the argument that Microsoft was a monopoly. Mm-hmm. And I believe one of the counterpoints that he or someone made is no, we lost the generation where everyone built their digital libraries, the gaming generation, where Sony was giving out a couple free games a month and everyone built those digital libraries. I believe it overlapped with COVID, right? So to your point, these digital fortresses that we have built have given us so many options that sometimes we just kind of get paralyzed in terms of what should I do, right? And I'll use another example that's kind of unrelated. Someone gave me, I'll hold it up real quick. Someone, in fact, it was my wife, gave me a Kindle as a gift a little while back.
Flex much?
I like to read.
Yeah. Nerd!
Right, I know. And it's kind of cool, Mac, that for a few dollars a month, I can get access to Kindle Unlimited, which gives me access to many, many, many great books. I don't have to carry them with me. I don't have to look for a deal because I'm always looking for deals. I just have
baller
these
on
books.
A budget.
Hashtag baller on a budget. Even though I don't own these books, it's super cool to be able to carry them with me. And that's the thing about digital, man. You have a Steam Deck. I'm sure you may have some ROMs on there. You probably have some modern stuff on there. It's nice to be able to carry all of that stuff. But at night, if I'm going to go to bed, it's nice to also use my analog pocket and just put a cartridge in and not have a million choices, but just pick the one thing and go in that time machine, remember a simpler time. Because, Mac, I don't know if I ever told you, I had 2 NES games for a really long time. My parents were not buying a lot of games for us. I had Mario 1, I had Mario 3, and we played those things to death. And I loved it. And so, there's something to be said for going in that time machine and enjoying those times.
I hear what you're saying. I do want to share a comment from Galvatron.
Please.
He's talking about the sort of digital, almost addiction aspect. It says what we're talking about is the same reason why casinos don't have outside windows or clocks. The corporations designed their experiences to get engagement and keep people addicted. And yeah, I think that is the thing. Even for people who have, you can call it willpower or whatever you want, but people who are less prone to being sucked in, even for those people, as long as you can make that suck-inage, it's an industry term, technical term, very marginal in its impact, just a little bit here and a little bit there, you can get even the strongest willed of people, frankly. So
100%.
It can be rough, and everybody's going for your attention.
I gotta end with this.
Yeah.
It's a fact that these platforms are trying to get our attention.
Yes.
And a lot of the way that they are trying to get our attention is not through, oh, wow, this is hilarious, I want to keep watching this. Or,
it's
wow, this is super
through
educational.
That dummy of the week.
It's through that dummy of the week. It's through outrage.
Yeah.
It's through anger.
Mm-hmm.
It's, oh, I am an African-American male. It's showing me videos of African-American males being treated poorly by people in positions of power, right? Or whatever it is. I'm a father, and here's a video of a kid being abandoned. Whatever. Just it knows how old I am. It knows my demographic, and it knows the type of stuff that would set me off. And it knows that for you too. So the willpower to turn that off, and for me and for many of the people in these videos I'm referencing that I've been watching, these YouTube videos, use a cartridge. Use a game to not doom scroll and to find some peace. And it works really well.
More power to them, and we hope that everybody can find the right balance in their life, for sure.
That's the topic of the week.
All right, well, now we turn to a crowdfunding project that's trying to get off of the ground. We call this Kick or Kickstart, Mr. Nice Guy. I'm going to just drop a link in the chat to this Kickstarter project. So this is a little thing called Mindara, a fighter's Nova, which is an interesting little mix of JRPG elements, kind of like a Final Fantasy game in style, and a fighting game. It does have a very manga-inspired style to it, especially with the cutscenes for it. But the main conceit is that you are headed to basically a tournament that happens once every 10 years. And over time, you're finding new fighters to participate. It's not entirely clear how many the most that you'll have, but it is very much a sort of tag team fighter, which is a mechanic very well explored in a lot of modern fighting games. Obviously, the mix of JRPG elements and the story that goes with it, we'll see if that's enough for this particular game, but I feel like it's trying something. Now, if this is a game that somewhat appeals to you, their minimum buy-in for it is $30 Canadian, which is $22 US. They're currently at 36,000 of their $50,000 goal, and their estimated release date for the game is December of 2028, which is a little ways away. There are some things definitely that stand out and that I particularly enjoyed. The art style, I really, really like what they're doing with the art style in this, particularly the art style of the characters themselves. I don't know if cell shading is the exact technique that they used.
I don't know if this is cell shading.
Yeah, but it's got something sort of in that genre, I feel like, where you've got a whole piece of, say, cloth or something, like a bandana, that has like some amount of not quite texture, but like highlights to it, and then a base color applied to the whole thing. I'm sure that there's a phrase for this type of thing, and Nice Guy, I trust you if you say that it's not cell shading.
It looks good though.
It does have a good look to it. The art certainly appealed to me for it. Mr. Nice Guy, any thoughts, my dude?
It looks really cool. I guess right now, and I hadn't thought about this till just as you started reading this, I'm really, really skeptical of all Kickstarters. Not to derail this conversation.
No, you should be.
Well, I waited, 3 years for Mina the Hollower.
Yeah, Mina the Hollower.
And it's not what I wanted. It is not what I wanted at all. And I actually forgot that I even owned it until just now as we were talking about it. Because I played it for a few hours and just didn't grip me. So
okay,
see something new.
I'm going to
go
flag
ahead.
this. We're going to talk some more about Mina the Hollower later.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited to hear what your thoughts are. So it's hard for me to get really excited about any Kickstarter. Trying to judge this objectively, it looks really good. And at first I thought it was just going to be one-dimensional in terms of being just a fighting game. But it does seem to have those JRPG elements. It seems to have like a world map with some exploration. And typically when there's a story added to a fighting game, it's very, very surface level, almost tacked on. This seems like that may not be the case.
Yeah.
So I'm impressed by that.
Yeah, I mean, the proof will be in the pudding, and unfortunately, we'll need a reasonable sample size of the game to find out whether or not the story is just... Because, on the one hand, there are stories that just exist to get you from point A to point B. I guess you could argue that's all stories, but there are some stories that give you an opportunity to engage and explore a world. Because of a recent game that I've been playing, I think a lot about how the story was shared and how a goodly chunk of the lore and the background were completely optional. Maybe you didn't even go inside that structure and you didn't even find out about this, that, or the other. You could still beat the game. But there is a thing where the JRPG genre here that they're trying to mix it with, like you said, Lum, really lends itself to an opportunity for more in-depth stories, and I hope so.
Yeah, what was the buy-in for this?
$22. I'd feel better about it if it was $15.
Well, I'd feel better about it if it was coming out in a year, as opposed to
that too.
2.5 years from now. Or a year and a half. I don't know if my math is off there. Yeah, 2.5 years. December 2028. So, I mean, just based on that, I gotta kick it, man. I mean, that's way too far out for any Kickstarter for a video game.
So, you know me, I've got a big rule that you have to have a playable demo, and these guys do. They do put it pretty front and center, talking about having a prototype available on Steam that you can try out. It is worthwhile to say that if you want to give it a shot, that's the sort of thing that you got to have available for us, because especially, I mean, gosh, I think every Kickstarter needs a playable demo, but especially if you're going to be more than a year out from publishing, playable demo is, non-negotiable. I don't even know what you're doing. To that end, though, still, 2.5 years is a bit of a hard sell for me as well. I'm going to tentatively say Kickstart, because it does have a lot of green flags for me, even though my initial hesitance on the length. But yeah, Kickstart from me, kick from you. But obviously, we wish everybody the best, and hopefully these guys, Bad Res Games, studio in Montreal, I hope they can take this across the finish line. 16 more days to get the rest of the way to their goal.
Okay.
Good luck, guys.
Well, Mac, it is time for Nerdflex. A woohoo! A segment where you, the viewers, try to stump the host. Sometimes you do, sometimes you do not. Mac, we have some questions this week, and hopefully you and I have some answers. For those of you who have not heard this before, we do some questions, sometimes from the test bank, sometimes from you if you're here live with one, and Mac and I use nothing but our noggins to try to answer those questions. Mac, here's question number 1 from the test bank. It's a special round, my friend.
Woo, special round.
And I like this question. Name a game where we never see the protagonist's face.
Okay.
Name a game where we never see the protagonist's face. Let's do it.
All right.
I'm thinking masks and helmets.
Okay, me too. I'll open up. I'll take the easy one, Halo.
I knew that was coming. Now, the one that I think of first, There are a lot of, and I'll just name the franchise, but there's a lot of Metroids where you never see Samus's face. There's one or two where I believe you do, but there's some you don't.
Sure, fair. See, Halo was the easy opener. No, that doesn't work. Oh my gosh, am I going to be stumped after one? Dude, I think I'm stumped. I think I only had one.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if this is right or not, but I'm pretty sure in Dead Space you don't see the protagonist's face.
Oh, okay. I've never played
I could
Dead
be wrong
Space.
about that. I'm just trying to think of other ones where people are wearing a mask or a helmet.
Yeah, I guess technically I could think of some games like, for example, the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games. There is never a face for the protagonist because it's all first-person or cockpit view, as it were. So I guess technically something like that could count. But yeah. I mean, I was thinking something for a minute. I was thinking like Portal, but yeah, even in Portal, you see your own face.
You can look in the mirror,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
So,
I was thinking Blaster Master, but I think Blaster Master you could see your face.
yeah, I think there's a little animation at the beginning where we see Jason.
Yeah. Are there any Mega Mans where we don't see the character's face?
Nah, the helmet. The helmet's got the face open the whole time.
Well, hey, that's enough. Let's see what's on the back. It doesn't give many examples on the back, but here's a few. Halo, Doom, and Subnautica.
Doom
are the 3 games that are listed here.
Subnautica. Spoiler, that is one of the games I've been playing recently. So I should have thought about that, but yeah. Dang it.
All good. Well, Mac, here's the second question, and if anything comes up in the chat, let me know. I don't have it pulled up. Zelda question. During the original game's second quest, what do 5 of the maps spell out? During the original game's second quest, what do 5 of the maps spell out?
I'm gonna say Zelda.
That was my thought too.
Yeah.
Was Zelda. So let's go with that as
let's
our final answer. It is indeed Zelda. It is indeed Zelda. I didn't know that.
Me neither.
That's awesome.
Total shot in the dark. I've got a question in the chat from Galvatron.
Last question.
It says, including the original release, how many ports / remakes are there for Shadow of the Colossus? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Well, obviously, there has to be the original release, 1. We assume there's at least 1 remake, bringing us to 2. I think there might be a port of it, bringing us to 3. I'm leaning toward either 3 or 4.
I lean towards 3. I don't think that it's been ported more than.
Okay. We will go 3. Final answer.
Let us know, G. Let us know.
Good question. Solid question. 3. The PS2, the PS3, and the PS4. We got it right. And
love it.
Just before we leave Nerdflex, wanted to say, I wrote it down, but I left the paper outside. We got a submission through the link tree from, was it Nitro Rider?
I don't know who it was, but I did see it.
So
I forgot to bring that up.
Yeah, no worries. So Nitro Rider sent in a thing and gave us what the correct answer was, but the question didn't come with it. And I'm pretty sure that the email address that you put in the contact form was not a real email address, so we couldn't ask you for the question. So we appreciate the question.
What was the answer again?
The answer was D, and then there was a quick comment that was like, the comment form needs more than 500 characters.
I saw that.
And like, I don't disagree with you. Sadly, I don't know how to change that. But like, Nitro Rider, we appreciate it. If you get us a question next time, well, we will do our best. But thanks for the answer.
Yeah, very good. That's been Nerdflex.
All right. Well, now we turn to a little bit of legalese.
Legalese.
I am not a lawyer. I am especially not a lawyer in France. But we have had some interesting things happen in France. Specifically, there has been the French government has fined Nintendo for Joy-Con drift related to the Switch 1.
What?
And not because it happened, right? Hardware issues can happen to anyone after all, but because of what Nintendo did after they knew about it. The DGCCRF, the Directorate General for Competition, Consumer Affairs, and Fraud Control, started an investigation into Joy-Con drift after the UFC Quick-Quashir. Oh, Lom. You got this right.
He's definitely not a lawyer in France, y'all.
Yep, definitely. They flagged this Joy-Con drift issue in 2020, and the DGCCRF took a look into it. Their investigation showed that Nintendo knew about it as early 2018, and waited long enough to communicate or do anything about it that Nintendo wound up pocketing some extra money before they started making it right for the customers with obviously, people who bought more Joy-Cons. I will directly quote the statement on Nintendo's own website. It's only the French website, so it is in French. So by directly quote, I mean I'll quote the translation. This is a banner across the front of Nintendo's website in France. Based on the company's failure to provide transparent information to consumers regarding malfunctions affecting certain Joy-Con controllers for the Nintendo Switch 1 specifically, a responsiveness issue known as drift, which caused unintended, erratic, or reversed character movements and controller unresponsiveness, Nintendo did not communicate about the issue until 2020, rather than immediately upon becoming aware of the malfunctions. This delayed and incomplete communication concerning the technical fault discouraged customers from contacting Nintendo's after-sales service and led some to purchase new controllers. These actions do constitute the offense of misleading commercial practice, thereby altering consumers' economic behavior regarding whether to contact Nintendo's after-sales service, and in some instances, whether to have the controllers repaired or replaced. Nintendo of Europe was offered a criminal settlement of 35 million euros, which it accepted, along with a requirement to publish this statement on the homepage of the website and social media channels. As part of a coordinated European-led initiative, Nintendo of Europe officially committed, back in 2023, to provide free repairs for controllers affected by this malfunction, even beyond the warranty period. Requests must be submitted directly via the Nintendo website. And that is a beautiful banner that pops up across the French-facing website of Nintendo. So yeah, there's not an awful lot to talk about this, if I'm being perfectly honest. I'm not a lawyer in France. There's not a lot of analysis here. But I have to wonder, anytime I hear of a company like Nintendo or anybody else taking a settlement, 35 million euros is, basically nothing to Nintendo, but it's not nothing, And
it's not nothing. I like it.
A big banner again in front of the website is, I think a lot of people would, are kind of desensitized to banners in this day and age. They kind of assume it's about your digital privacy and whether or not you want to have cookies and trackers on or off, and they just kind of click away from it automatically now. But I have to wonder, a $35 million settlement, and putting a big banner across your website and on your social media channels. Do you think it was worse? Do you think they had emails or stuff that was them talking about how they were going to hold off for a while to get more out of the consumer? I mean, I just don't know. I don't know. I'm a schlub. I feel like $35 million is an awful lot of money to settle for.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially for something that you eventually made right.
It's amazing some of the things that these corporations type to each other in private and just assume that their emails will never get subpoenaed in court, right? And I imagine that's what happened here.
I, too, wonder how damaging some interdepartment emails might be on the subject. But we will never know, because as we know, settlements lead to no real information. They lead to just an end to the investigation. For better or worse. And that isn't the law, but that is legalese.
That is legalese. Well, thank you for tuning in, everybody, and thank you, Mac, for that legalese. Episode 381 is coming to an end, but before we go, we have one last segment called What We've Been Watching and What We've Been Playing, where we talk about just that, the cool, nerdy stuff we've been into across all platforms, maybe even our Kindle, my Kindle, maybe even Mac's Steam Deck, maybe even other things. Mac, what have you been watching and playing, and for those of you who are here live, what have you been into?
So, I've been watching some Taskmaster. Playing, I have technically been playing Subnautica, but it's mostly been the nerd next door who's been playing Subnautica, and I've been there as emotional support because it is an explorer horror game, and it can be pretty exciting sometimes.
1 or 2?
1.
Nice.
We're gearing up for Below Zero, and then we'll move on to 2 after that. And 2 actually has multiplayer, so we'll see how that goes. But there is another game that I myself have been playing, and that is I've been playing Mina the Hollower some more, Mr. Nice Guy, and I think I'm coming around on it.
Okay,
So,
good to hear.
I did complete the game. I cleared the game.
What?
I did. Well, I did with that file, right? I had mentioned that I didn't mean to turn the assist options on.
Oh, yeah.
And then anyway, point being is that I completed the game with that file, had a great time, but I wanted to go back and do it the way it was, air quotes, intended. So I am doing it the way it was intended and having a pretty good time of it. I am struggling on some of the bosses still, but just because I do think I'm really, really locked into that 4-way attack, whereas everything else just has so much more movement than I do, and that's really hard to cope with. But I am making progress, and I'm cautiously optimistic that I might be able to beat it on normal difficulty mode. So yeah, but I am kind of coming around on it, Nice Guy, especially with having experienced the areas once already, and having some understanding of the movement sets of the enemies before I run into them for the first time makes the game a lot less frustrating when I die, because I don't feel like I'm getting, I don't feel like the deaths are cheap as they were, because now I've got some advanced knowledge. So I am kind of coming around on Mina the Hollower.
Well, the reason I said what is because I just found it interesting that you finished the game and now you're coming around on it. But I get what you're saying now. It was the assist mode.
Yeah, exactly. The assist mode, it made it plenty fun, because I didn't have to be quite so worried about dying all the time. But I can kind of, now that I've locked in, I can kind of appreciate the difficulty as intended. Like I said, I think there are a couple of bosses who have, I think one of them has 3 different forms that I really, 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 really struggled with. Anyway.
Love it. Well, I've been playing some Analog Pocket, like I mentioned. I have Battletoads in there right now. Just trying to slow down, man, and the analysis paralysis thing. On the AYN Thor, I have been doing a little bit of Dead Cells. That's a game that I never really get tired of. And Teamfight Tactics on the PC. Love that game. As far as other stuff, I haven't really been watching much. I YouTube, I watch some educational stuff, I watch some fun stuff. I've been reading this book by S.A. Cosby, who is one of my favorite authors, called Razorblade Tears. I read King of Ashes earlier this year, and with Kindle Unlimited, a lot of his books are on there, so I'm now reading this and really, really enjoying it, as well as some Brandon Sanderson. And Mac, that is what I've had time for.
I'll take us home, if you don't mind, Mr. Nice Guy.
Please do.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out to the show, for helping make episode 381 what it was. We hope that you will join us perhaps next week, either listening to us after the fact or here for the live show at twitch.tv/2nerdsinapod. We sure appreciate you sharing your nerdy trivia and just being your nerdy selves. And remember, until we see you next time, be excellent to each other and keep it nerdy.
Deuces, y'all.